Hello guys, welcome back to Audible Odyssey. So let's step into a world of immersive storytelling where gripping tales of mystery, horror and adventure come to life. Each narration is crafted to pull you into the heart of the story, creating an unforgettable audio experience. From spine-tingling horrors to timeless classics, Audible Odyssey Adventures is your gateway to thrilling journeys beyond imagination. Subscribe now, and let the stories take you to places you've never dreamed of. Audible Odyssey presents. I can't tell you the name of the game, not because I'm playing it is a mystery. Believe me, I want to forget every detail I can, but because it's not safe. Something about that name carries weight, like it unlocks a door in your mind that should stay sealed. Let's just call it a game, and if you ever piece together the title, don't look it up. I'm dead serious, it's the kind of thing you can't unsee once you stumble upon it. I discovered the game late one night scrolling through obscure horror forums, in a half-daze. I was bored. I guess I was chasing the usual adrenaline high: urban legends, cryptic websites, spooky countdowns. There's always talk of the dark corner of the internet where things get weird. But most of it is nonsense or pranks. I'd become jaded, craving something genuinely chilling. Then I found a thread with no pictures, only text. The subject's line read, "I played it, now I see a sleep in no other context." The post was short and frantic, mentioning a game that watches you play, that does impossible things with your screen. The final line said, "Don't try it. People see the shape behind your eyes after you do." That last phrase didn't make much sense, but it made me shudder. I was very curious. A user in the comments provided a link, no disclaimers, no instructions. I clicked it. I don't know what exactly I expected, maybe a low-effort indie jump scare fest or some half-finished prototype. Instead of a black screen loaded with text blinking, "Press any key to begin." The website was bare-bones white text on black. No fancy design, a hush from over my room as I tapped the space bar. Nothing elaborate happened at first, just an archaic title which again I refused to repeat. Then the game asked for permission to access my camera. I froze. That was definitely weird, but I'd seen some experimental art games do this before, capturing your reaction. Against my better judgment, I clicked on my webcam. A tiny LED flickered on, a message popped up. "Now I see you." A surge of unease clenched my stomach. I reminded myself it was just a line of code on the screen, then asked for my name. I typed it and the game repeated my name in bright red letters. Then, "Are you sure you want to play?" I hesitated, but I was too deep in the curiosity trap. I pressed yes. I wish I'd closed my laptop right then. The opening level was nothing but a text prompt to find a quiet place to turn off the lights. I was already in my dark bedroom, so I just typed yes. The screen blinked good, then the next prompt was "something you fear." I frowned, my heart was beating a bit faster, a typical cheap horror trick. Maybe I typed the first thing that came to mind. Heights, a new line typing itself letter by letter. "Is that truly your worst fear?" I exhaled. Sure, it responded, "I think you're lying." It was just a text, but my anxiety spiked. The next segment told me to stand up from my chair. I felt a bit silly. My webcam lights glowed. I imagined the game scanning me, then lines of text scrolling quickly, too fast to read until it settled on one sentence. "I can show you what real fear looks like." An image flashed, grainy flickering shapes like a shapeless figure standing in a hallway. I blinked. It was so brief I couldn't pass. It was another flicker, a dark silhouette behind a window with my reflection superimposed. It was capturing live video from my webcam but layering it with something else, something that looked disturbingly real. My bedroom door was in the corner of the screen, but there was a shadow there that wasn't in my actual room, or if it was I couldn't see it with my naked eye. I almost closed the browser then, but the text type did go. "It's too late." My screen froze for a second. My reflection stared back at me with wide eye. Then the game flickered to black. A final line appeared: check your phone. My phone buzzed. I nearly dropped it. A text message from an unknown number. My name followed by a look behind you chills a primal surge of dread. I didn't look behind me, I physically couldn't. My rational brain said it was a random spook tactic, that the game somehow grabbed my phone number from the browser or some unethical script, but it felt personal, like the game was reaching out of the screen. I locked my phone, feeling sweat on my palms. This is messed up. I thought I had forced the browser to close, the tab disappeared. I even cleared my cache, my history, everything. Then I shut down my laptop. The LED on my webcam flickered one last time I stared at it. My heart hammered for a moment. I thought I saw a faint flicker of movement in the reflection, like a silhouette passing behind me. I spun in my chair. I scanned the dark bedroom. Nothing there but my hamper and the half-opener closet. I had hardly slept that night. I kept hearing the phone buzz in my head, replaying that short text. The next day I tried rationalizing it. Maybe some advanced code is just a standard creepypasta trick. It's not real. I told myself that at times, except my phone beeped again at noon, another unknown number, a single line of text. Don't pretend you can hide it. My stomach flipped to hide why I blocked the number, then a new unknown number texted me the same line. I blocked that too. By evening, I'd gotten about 10 messages from different random numbers, all repeating variations of the same sentence: you said you're afraid of height. That's not your real fear, or I see your eyes, lying. Each time I'd blocked them, and each time a new one popped up, I turned my phone off. Eventually, I told myself I'd switch providers if I had to, and that's when the nightmares started. At first, I dreamed about my bedroom door opening in the night, a shape leaning in, eyes glinting. Another dream had me perched on a precarious ledge overlooking an endless drop, but behind me the silhouette watching, whispering, "This is not your fear." I'd wake up drenched in sweat, double-checking the locks on my windows. 2 nights later, my phone started buzzing at exactly 3:03 a.m. over and over. I refused to answer. A voicemail eventually came through, a static hiss, and in the background a faint scraping sound, maybe breathing. I couldn't be sure. I deleted it in terror. My computer too started glitching, random pop-ups that wouldn't close, black screens with white text that said, "I never left you." At that point, I confided in an online friend. I told them I messed with some cursed game. They laughed, said it was probably an alternate reality game with elaborate pranks. They recommended I ignore it or wipe my system. I tried. I reinstalled my OS, changed phone numbers for a few days, all was quiet. I was so relieved. I was convinced I'd outrun the weirdness until the night I saw it in person. It was raining around midnight. I was in my living room mindlessly scrolling on my new phone when I noticed a faint reflection on the TV screen, something behind the couch shifting. I looked around, but the couch was empty, the room was still. I'm just paranoid, I told myself, forcing a laugh. Then I heard the floorboards creak, in the hallway. My apartment's only small, just a living room, a short hall to the bedroom and a bathroom. I froze, scared to move a muscle. Another creak, closer. This time is that footsteps. My logical mind fought back, building settle pipes. It's normal, but I couldn't ignore the sense of being watched. I tiptoed to the hallway and flicked on the light. Nothing. The door to my bedroom stood open. If someone was in there, I'd see them. I glanced in. I looked at the bed, the dresser, the closet door. No one yet. The air felt heavy, like the hush before a storm. My phone beeped, and new text, "Are you ready to see it?" My throat immediately dried up. I typed back furiously, "Leave me alone," and immediately the phone beeped again. Look in the closet. I'm not proud of how panicked I felt. My entire body screamed at me not to open that closet, but the more I tried to ignore it, The more the text burned in my mind looking in the closet, so I reached for the doorknob. My hand shook slowly. I pulled it open, just dark clothes and shoes, no sign of anything else. I exhaled, half laughing in relief, but all of a sudden my phone's camera turned on by itself. I heard the shutter click. A photo of me leaning into the closet appeared on my screen. In the corner of the image behind my left shoulder there was a shape dark and elongated, almost like a smear of shadow with a hint of eyes. I jerked around, shining my phone's flashlight behind me. Nothing but empty air. That was the moment I realized that there's no escaping it. The game had wormed its way into my reality. It's not just code, it's something else, something that thrives on fear and pries into your mind. Over the next week, I started seeing fleeting shapes on reflective surfaces on the TV turned off laptop screen windows at night. Always the same smudge of a figure tall twisted just out of focus. At times, I'd catch a glimpse of it in broad daylight creeping at the edge of my vision. The moment I turned around it had vanished. Sleep became impossible. My phone kept pinging with cryptic messages even with a new number, a new phone found me. I'd open a random app and see a brief image flash on the ask screen from the game or a snippet of text that said we can find the real fear. I felt my sanity unravel. I rarely left my apartment. I dreaded seeing that shape out on the street. One evening, after a series of nightmares, I yanked my entire computer setup out and threw it in my closet. I threw my phone in a drawer. Candlelight replaced my lamps. I was that desperate, that paranoid, thinking that maybe if I cut off technology it would lose its hold, but it didn't. The shadows in the corners grew thicker, my mirrors felt. The game or whatever was behind it didn't need the internet anymore, it had me. I caved and emailed the original forum user from a borrowed laptop at a friend's house. How do I break this? I typed. I was on the brink of panic. The user never responded. Another forum post mentioned that the user disappeared weeks ago, so I had zero leads. The next morning I found a single piece of paper slipped under my apartment door, blocky letters scrolled in black marker. It's not just code, you must face your real fear. I just about lost my mind. My real fear was not something deeper. Maybe I had an inkling of loneliness, or maybe the idea that none of this was real or that everything is real and unstoppable. The notes provided no further clue. I grew reckless, nights bled into days, my eyes sunken with exhaustion. The entity, called it the game or the shape or whatever, became bolder. I'd see it in the corners of my bedroom, hear it breathing near my pillow. My phone, now stuffed in a kitchen drawer, would vibrate occasionally and I'd feel that spark of terror, but I refused to check. Eventually, in a moment of delirious bravery, I turned on my laptop again. The second it booted, the black screen reappeared with text awaiting me. Let's finish what we started. I trembled but typed, what do you want? The screen flickered. Then words scrolled, your truth. Tears burned my eyes. I don't understand. I typed. The game responded, you do this as your final level, surrender. The webcam lights came on. My face appeared on screen, eyes bloodshot, a glimmer behind me, a silhouette in the reflection. What does it want me to do? Do a new line, type itself, admit your real fear. I didn't want to, but I had no choice. What else could I do? I typed while shaking hands. I feared I'm truly alone and that no one could help me. The text on screen repeated my words and then asked, do you accept that I was sobbing at this point, feeling such a raw sense of isolation? Yes, I typed. The screen flickered, the silhouette behind me twisted. Then, for the first time, it began to crawl out of the screen. It was tall, its face just a shifting smear as if it had no features. The sight triggered every alarm in my brain, but I held my ground. A final line, if you see it then it's real, embrace it. I tried to move but my legs felt paralyzed. I saw an encroaching darkness engulfing the walls like a deathly black nothingness marching towards me with another message. Look closer, I couldn't stop myself. My gaze locked on whatever this thing was. My phone's glow revealed glimpses of wet shifting darkness in place of a face that had come for me. No longer content with illusion, stop, I croaked, voice cracking. My phone beeped, the text on, screen throbbing in jagged fonts. This is your truth. The shape loomed at the foot of my bed, blocking the meager light. A stench like grave dirt flooded my nostrils without warning. It reached forward, long bony fingers dragging across my sheets. I scrambled backwards, limbs tangled in the covers. But there was nowhere to go. One last text glared at me from the phone. We finished together and then everything happened too quickly. The shape's arm lashed out, grabbing my wrist with impossible strength. I kept telling myself this. It couldn't be real, that no software or website could physically harm me. I opened my mouth to scream but a numbness spread through my jaw, stifling any sound. The shape's face, or where a face should be, tilted close, blotting out my view of the room. I felt a wet rod of breath on my cheek and smelled a faint rot that made me gag. My vision blurred with tears, my phone flickered a last burst of white text on black, welcome to the final level. There was no time to process the shape's entire form. Twisted, enveloping me in a suffocating shroud of black, my mind exploded with images of the hallway from the game, the reflection of my bedroom door, the endless text prompts, each displayed across my vision in a rapid montage like it was absorbing every memory. Every fear I tried to wrestle free, but it was like swimming through tar. My strength was useless. Somewhere on the edge of consciousness I heard the high-pitched whine of my phone speaker, continuous and piercing like the device was screaming for me. The shape's hold tightened and I felt the floor drop out from under me. A sensation of falling without end, no ground to land on. My chest burned, my lungs refused to pull air, and then there was only darkness, deep and crushing. The phone lights faded to nothing, the screen cracking under the creature's grip. My heart pounded once, twice, then everything slowed. The shape forced itself into my mind's last flicker of consciousness, devouring in the screams I couldn't voice. I can't tell you the name of the game because I'm gone now, swallowed by that impossible void, a casualty of my own curiosity. All that remains is this final confession, spoken by a trembling voice that's no longer mine, left as a warning that you won't heed, and if you're hearing these words it might already be too late. All I can say is I'm sorry for the more terrifying creepypasta horror stories. Check out the playlist or the video on screen. So guys, the video has ended now. If you like our stories and want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to Audible Odyssey channel and do all these things, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Enjoy horror and adventure stories like this. So just subscribe to Audible Odyssey. Bye bye.